carry on here. This is the tabernacle in the wilderness. Now, we've shown you the heraldry that started with Jacob, but you got to see it a little bit deeper, because you guys are about to study into something in the book of Numbers as you're doing your weekly Torah portions, but you won't understand what you're talking about until you see this. And this is the great thing about the projector and the computer, is being able to see this stuff in real images, because it's awesome. So we're talking in Numbers about the Shekinah over top of Israel, the cloud by day and the fire by night. And this is a symbol of what it looked like. And there's the mountain in the background that Jehovah talked on or stood on, blackened. Again, we come back to the symbol of the seal of the United States. And remind you that the Shekinah is that cloud over top of Israel. That's what that cloud represents. Whether they knew it or not, that's what it represents. The gold inside the cloud represents the glory inside the cloud. Okay? I just want to mention that to you so you keep in mind what it is that we're looking at. So, we read this yesterday. We're going to do it again now. There's a specific order that they were to break camp. First to depart were the eastern tribes. Thus they departed the first time according to the command of Jehovah by the hand of Moshe. And the banner, okay, the banner, and I kept my mouth shut yesterday, the banner, okay, the banner of the eastern tribes, the banner of Judah, the heraldry of Judah is what led them out. Right? Here's my banner, and I got a banner carrier, right, the standard carrier. He's carrying my symbol of my tribe, and he's going out first, and we're following him. You see this in all the ancient movies, right? You know, the Roman legions with their banner, they got one guy, this guy's got a certain symbol on it, right? And they all do that. This is where they're doing, this is where it started.
Give them encouragement and build them up.
It's like following your flag.
Yeah.
And the banner of the camp of the children of Yehudah departed, first according to their divisions, and over the army was Nashon and Amminadab. I'm not going to read who these people are, I just want you to see the tribes. And then the other tribe that went with Judah was Issachar, and the other tribe was Zebulun. Right? So remember the symbols that we have for each of them. Judah is the lion. Issachar, I think, was the donkey with the load on it. And Zebulun is the ship. So there's the three symbols there. And you find those same symbols in different parts of these countries today. Following that, the dwelling place was taken down. This is the tabernacle. And the sons of Gershon and the sons of Merari departed bearing the dwelling place. Now Gershon, the Gershonites, and the Merari became the Merarites. And those tribes you can follow in history. The names that you're given here are leading men of the tribes. And they became known by those names. The Merarians. Okay? Those are the Levitical people. They don't have a tabernacle anymore. They've been dispersed, but they're calling them Merarians. They can be traced. You can see them on maps, on ancient maps. There they are, right there. This is so rich in information. And yet we just read right through it. Yes?
I was just going to say that when you see the symbols, you can really identify with the tribes of Israel and that.
But you don't always see the symbols.
Right.
In history, you don't see the symbols. We're showing you the symbols now because the symbols are still with us today. But in history, as you go through the Encyclopedia Britannica, and this is why I challenge you, I put this challenge in front of you. Take these names that I'm going to put in front of you today, open up your Encyclopedia Britannica, and see where they went, where they come from. Because what the Encyclopedia Britannica does is it blocks them out. Here's all the information about this group of people. We don't know nothing about where they come from, where they went. Then we got this other group of people over here. Same thing. But if you know the story, these people were called this, and these people were called this, and they were both called the same thing by other people. The victor is the one doing the recording of history. And the victor did not speak Hebrew. Right? So the German version of World War II is not the exact same thing as the American version. But whose version do we get? The victors. Not that the other one's wrong, or that either one's wrong, just different points of view. So the second group, so now we got Judah going out first with Issachar and Zebulun, and then we got the tribe of Levi taking the tabernacle. And then they get there and they set up the tabernacle so that when the holy things arrive, they go straight into the tabernacle, not sit outside and wait. The second group of this, which is the southern tribe. So this here is facing east. This is the first group. The tribe to the south is here. That's made up of Reuben, Simeon, and Gad.
Is that clockwise? Or is that counterclockwise?
It goes east, south, west, and north. Yes, clockwise. Starting at 3 o'clock, 1, 6, 9, 12. Yes. Okay? So Simeon, Gad, and Reuben. Reuben is the man. Simeon is the sword or the castle. Reuben is the man or the water. And Gad is the guy on the horse. Right? Those are the symbols. And then after that, the Kehathites departed bearing the set-apart objects. So the things inside the tabernacle, while the dwelling place was set up, they came. So as these first group is setting up the dwelling place, when they arrive at the spot, then these guys walk in, and it's already set up, and they walk right and put it in. Now the Kehathites departed after. Now that's another name that you can follow. And then they disappear, but you can follow them for a time. The third to depart are the western tribes. The western tribes are the children of Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. All of Rachel's kids were in the west. Right? Funny how that worked out. Then, because the tabernacle has already been established and set up, there are no more Levites following them. So then the tribe to the north, the tribe of Dan, and the tribe of Asher, and the tribe of Naphtali. And you'll find that today, the Israelites are set up in the nations in the exact same order. What this is going to show you, if you get nothing out of it, well, you should get tons out of it. But what this should show you is how awesome this Creator is that we follow. To orchestrate it here, in this little camp right here, of 2 million people, the size of Toronto, right? To take that and make that into nations around the world and set them up in the same order, with Ephraim to the west and Dan to the north, and Reuben, well, Reuben's not quite to the south, he's sort of up there, right? Kind of like the order. It's so awesome. So here we are, another picture with the different names on the different tribes, which I just explained to you. But you got to think of this as millions of people. Take Toronto and do this in Toronto. Imagine organizing Toronto to get up and march on a day's notice. Today, not this morning, 6 o'clock this morning, there's the cloud's moving! And you got to get up and pack and go. Yeah, but I got a hair appointment at 7. It ain't gonna work.
Sorry, he just went.
2 million, 3 million people. Just imagine that. Okay, so now, there are symbols for each of these camps, and the main symbol was set up in a certain way. The lion was Judah, the eagle was Dan, the man was Reuben, and the bull was Joseph. Okay? That's also a symbol for something else.
Revelation?
Oh, you guys just missed that. I thought you'd grab onto that real quick. The cherubs.
What?
Cherubs. Angels.
Oh, the cherubs.
Cherubs. Cherubs. What do you say, cherubs?
Yeah, cherubs.
Okay.
In Revelations, they talk about that.
Yeah, but they're described in Ezekiel. Genesis 3:22. See, the man had become like one of us, to know God, to know good and evil. Now lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. So Jehovah Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. Now notice that you just told he didn't till the ground in the Garden of Eden. He tilled the ground after he went out of the Garden of Eden. Something I just learned. That's why I'm no longer rototilling my garden. And he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, with a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. So that gate that he went through, like I said before, was a mountain pass between two mountains. That's another good teaching about where is the Garden of Eden. It's just outside Tabriz in Iran. Yes.
So this is basically like, it's almost like saying they're the guard. It's like in one essence.
It's a cherubim is a guard.
It's a guard, and we're guards. We're supposed to be just like that, a guard.
The guard of the command. Ezekiel 1:4-14. Then I looked, and behold, a whirlwind was coming out of the north, a great cloud with raging fire engulfing itself, and brightness was all around it, and radiating out of its midst like the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also from within it came likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. Each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings, and the legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of calves' feet. They sparkled like the color of burnished bronze. The hands of a man were under the wings on their 4 sides, and each of the 4 wings had faces and wings. So here's the thing we're getting to. The wings touched one another. The creature did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward as the likeness of their face. Each had the face of a man. Each of the 4 had the face of a lion. So there's 4 different cherubim here. So the face of a man, the face of a lion on the right side, and each of them had the face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle. So this is what the cherub looked like. Okay? Now, the reason I bring that up is because this is the symbols for the camp of Israel.
Oh, wow.
Okay? We have Reuben in the south, Judah in the east, Joseph, Ephraim in the west, and Dan in the north, the eagle. The same as the cherubim. Isn't it? Wow. Here's another little thing. You know, when you call your wife dear, or you call your husband dear, honey, sweetheart, Jehovah called Ephraim, his prized child. His little pet name was my little heifer. Go up and tell your wife she's your little cow. But Jehovah called Ephraim my little heifer. That word heifer in Hebrew is called angle. That's where we get the word Anglo-land. Anglo-land? Anglo-Saxons? Anglo is my little heifer. Saxons means sons of Isaac. So we see right here in the cherubim the symbols for the tribes of Judah. For the tribes of Israel and the respected camp. I just found that awesome to learn this. So there they are again, and I won't belabor that any longer. Okay, so now we've learned that. So this is up to the Exodus, or just shortly after the Exodus. Now we're going to go back before the Exodus. A whole bunch of other stuff happened before the Exodus. There's so much information here. And we're going to try and chase down some of these things, because this stuff is ancient history. Nobody talks about this stuff. And yet it's there in your encyclopedia, and it's all just as plain as day, but you don't connect the dots. So we're going to start connecting it. So now the Egyptians say that also after these events, the plagues of the Exodus, a great number of colonies were spread from Egypt all over the inhabited world. The Egyptians say that. They could not have said that after the Exodus, so it must have been before the Exodus. Right? Spread from Egypt all over the inhabited world. They say also that those who set forth were the Danas. Remember what I said about Dan? So part of the tribe of Dan left before. They're called the Danas. likewise from Egypt settled what is practically the oldest city of Greece, called Argos, and that the nations of the Colchi and Pontus, and that of the Jews. Did you catch it? Colchis are the Jews. That's from Cadmus, a son of Judah, which lies between Arabia and Syria, were founded as colonies by certain immigrants from their country of Egypt. And this is the reason why it is a long-established institution among the peoples of these peoples to circumcise their male children. The custom has been brought over from Egypt. Even the Athenians, they say, are colonists from the Sais of Egypt. So this is ancient, who's this? Diodorus of Sicily recording his history. Before the Exodus, groups of people left. After the Exodus, groups of people left Moses and left. Oh, that's so... No, that's not in the Bible. Yes, it's in history. Moses doesn't talk about this too much. We're going to talk about one. Hecataeus, therefore, tells us that the Egyptians, formerly being troubled by calamities, referring to the 10 plagues of the time of the Exodus, in order that the divine wrath might be averted, expelled all the aliens gathered together in Egypt. So as the 10 plagues are happening, this is what the Egyptians did. And they're going to get rid of these people that are causing this trouble. To expel all the aliens gathered them together in Egypt. Of these, some under the leaders of Danas and Cadmus migrated into Greece. So this is another historian recording the same information. Others to other regions. The greater part into Syria, meaning Palestine, which means that they went around and settled in Canaan. That's what he's talking about. So there's one part that goes up here to Crete, another part up there to Greece, and then the rest of them come through this way. That's what he's telling you here. Their leader is said to have been Moses, a man renowned for wisdom and courage, founder and legislator of the state. After his many Mosaic institutions followed. That's volume 2, page, I didn't record where that's from. Yeah. Excuse me. Arthur Mueller, in his work Fragmenta Historicarum Gregorium, so that's all Latin for his book about the Greeks, also relates that these events are as recorded by the pen of Hecataeus of Abdura, 6th century BC. Okay, so when's 6th century BC? 600 years after this happened. This took place in 1377 BC, and this is being recorded now 600 years later in 600 BC. Trying to give you the relevance, how close they are to the actual event, right? That's what I'm trying to show you here. These are what people are saying. The Calamites from Cadmus, referred to here, are obviously the Calamites. I can't even read my own writing, and this is typed. The calamities. The calamities referred. Okay, again, listen. This is the first time I presented this. So I've never presented this before in front of anybody. This is all stuff I just put together for you folks. So I got some spots I got to work on. Referred to here above are the plagues which Jehovah brought down on the Egyptians, and the aliens are clearly the Israelites. Okay? And the Danas and the Cadmus are those that went to Greece. So this is 1379, 1380, 1350 BC. First Chronicles, there I got it out. And the sons of Zerah, Zimri, and Ethan, and Herman, and Galcol, so there's the Cadmus, and Derah, that's the Danas that we were talking about before. So there's the 5 sons of Zerah. Who is Zerah? Judah had 2 sons. One was Phares and the other one was Zerah. So you can read that. In 1 Kings 4:30, and Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all the men. Then Ethan the Ezrahite, and Herman the Calcite, and Darda, and Calcol, and the sons of Mahol. So these sons here of Zerah were considered extremely wise. And Solomon was even wiser than them. They got a special mention in the Bible. That's pretty spectacular. And yet, we don't read nothing about these people in history. And yet they made history by the things that they did. Does that make sense? Okay. So you know who Zerah is? You understand who Zerah is?
Judah.
Okay, so let's see. Do I go here and explain that? Okay, well, Judah had 5 boys. First one died, leaving no heir. He promised Tamar, the second
That's
one.
right, that's
He
right.
promised Tamar, after he died, he went and made love to her, but he wouldn't ejaculate into her, he'd do it on the ground. So he just wanted to have sex. So God killed him. Then Shelah is the youngest one, and he was too young, so he said, wait, and I'll give him to you. Then she waits, and he ends up marrying someone else, and she's disappointed. Then she dresses up as a prostitute, goes and sits in the corner where Jacob's going down to the sheep shearers, and she gets him to come into her and make love to her. And he gives her his staff, his ring, his bracelet, and is that it? Something else.
And the sheep.
And he promised him a sheep. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't give.
He gonna bring the
promised
sheep
him
later.
that
What was
also.
it, his wallet too or something?
His staff, his ring, and his bracelet.
Something to do with his signature.
That's his
Symbols of
ring.
authority.
That's his ring. So she takes off. No one's heard of her. He comes back to pay. Can't find her. Then he finds out that she's pregnant. Well, that's bad. So he's going to have her stoned. And she comes up there and she said, the guy that owns this and this staff and this ring is the father of these children. And Jacob recognized him right away. Caught. Caught.
Why would he give her so much? I mean,
Well, just
she's
because
just a prostitute.
he owed her the cost of the prostitution, which was a sheep. So these things were probably more valuable to Jacob than to her. So the sheep is what she would wait for. Jacob would make sure he gets the sheep because it didn't cost him anything.
It just seems funny that he would have to give 3 things, or it was such a weird one. Anyway,
So out of that birth comes Phares
yeah, 2.
and Zerah. And we just read how Zerah's kids were some of the wisest in the world at that time. Now Judah came down to Egypt, Zerah came down to Egypt, those grandkids came down to Egypt, they were all down in Egypt, and then Danis and Galcol get up and go. Right? Ephraim got up to go one day, but he went up to the Philistines and lost 50,000 people that day. And Ephraim cried for days about that because of his descendants being wiped out so badly. The book of Chronicles, we're going to do that all day. The book of Chronicles tells you these things. The book of Numbers tells you these things. And you read the Numbers and you got to say, why is Ephraim, who's got the greater blessing, got the least amount of people in it? Because Ephraim got wiped out, leaving before the Exodus. 30 years before the Exodus, Ephraim calculated that this covenant was made with Abraham, and 400 years later is now. So he got up and left, and he was going to the promised land and got wiped out. It was 430 years. Okay, that's in your Shamash. Shamash. I can't say it now. I can't even say Chronicles. So it's in there. It's a footnote in there. So there's Paris, and these are now the Jews that we know today. And they call them, that's where we get Pharisees from Pharisees. Okay? Now, these things here, when you go through Chronicles, there are names in here. Shambuth is one, Israelite. All these names become tribes. And when you look in the ancient history, you can find some of them. Some of them give up their name and move in with the other one. And I don't know which ones are which right here, but I do know that happens. So when you're doing the tracing the history, this is the thing that you find out. But we're going to follow the Zerahites. Okay? We know who the Jews are, but we don't know who the Zerahites are. We're going to follow them. So we just read about Calcol, Cadmus, who is also Calcol, and Danius, right? Calcol and Dara. Dara becomes Danius. Calcol becomes Calcol. How did I say that? Cadmus. Okay? Depends on who's telling the story, how the names get. Like my family tree starts off as Lemestre. Then it's Lemaitre, which drops the S. Then it becomes Lawtonville, Nottonville. Then it becomes Auger. Then Auger becomes Duhaime. And Duhaime becomes Dumaine. And Dumaine becomes Duman. And then Dumont. And then now Dumond. And that's just 12 generations here in Canada. So this is the same thing, okay? But this is over thousands of years now. So we're going to have to pay attention to how this changes. Okay. I'll just read this here. This is from Strabo. Did these bands of Israelite refugees stay in Greece and Asia Minor? Or did they migrate further to distant lands across the sea? Let's see what happens to Danis. According to Euripides and the Greek geographer and historian Strabo. So this is 63 to 24 BC. Okay? Danis having arrived in Argos. You see where Argos is here? Argos is, where'd you go? Right there. That's where Argos is. You've heard of the good ship Argo, the Toronto Argonauts. Okay, this is where it comes from. Danis having arrived in Argos made a law that those who had borne the name Pelasgiote throughout Greece should be called Danae. The Pelasgigone, these people, were now to be called Danae, right? So they changed the name and become Danae. Remember what we said about Dan? Dan is the serpent's tail that you can follow throughout history. Danae, the Danites. They named them after the Danes. If you compare this with Judges 18:29 in the Bible, you'll find that the act of Danis was one employed by the tribe of Dan throughout their history. Judges 18:29, and they came to the city of Dan, and after the name of Dan, their father, who was born into Israel. So they named everything after Dan. Dan this, Dan that, Dan, you know. So that's their history, and you follow them wherever they go. We further learn from Strabo and others that the Argos soon spread its name to the Peloponnese, okay, and afterwards to all Greece. For he says, Homer called the whole of Greece Argos. For he called all Argives, as he calls them Dani and Achaia. So I have the Achaia right here, right? I'm just showing you how the name of Dan is also spelled different ways, recorded by different people. What's your last name again?
Sekarak.
David Sekarak. What's your middle name?
Dawn.
Don. Have you got a Christian middle name? Third one? Okay. We could call him Don. We could call him David. We call him Sekarak. Or we could call him Hey Seki. Right? And you'll probably answer to all of them. Hey you. Right? You could do that with anybody. We all got 3 names. Some got 4 or 5. Right? But we all do that. This is the names. And whoever knows you, they say David doesn't want to be associated with us anymore and he wants this other group to know him, but not by David Sekarak. He calls himself Don to this other group, so they start calling him Don. You know what Don is? Don Dave. That's the Italian. But this is what's happening. So all these little countries here are starting off as city-states. The Argos, the Peloponnese, okay? My Greek is terrible. But they start off here. And you're going to see other countries, other groups of people coming in here that are also Israelites. And then they start to fight with each other, then they merge together, and then they create leagues together. The legends of ancient Greece are unanimous in claiming that all the people who founded their nation came from Egypt. Furthermore, the time of the arrival of these groups in Greece is also the time of the bondage of the Israelite in Egypt. The ancient writers all agree that these founders of the Greek nation were, without doubt, Israelite refugees from the Egyptian bondage. Yet another group fled Egypt under the leadership of Darda, brother of Galcol and son of Zerah. So here's what W.H. Bennett says: let us turn to the other part of Zerah's descendants who fled out of Egypt under the leadership of Darda. In the authorized version of the Bible, his name is spelled Dara, but in the margin, the alternate spelling is Darda, and the Jewish historian Josephus calls him Dardanus. This is significant because the group which he led went northward, across the Mediterranean Sea to the northwest corner of what is now called Asia Minor. Okay, so they came from Greek down, or Egypt down here, and they went up here to this corner called Asia Minor. Okay? We're talking about Dardanus. And established a kingdom, later called Troy, on the southern shore of that narrow body of water which bears the name of this group today, the Dardanelles. Do you see how it's connecting here? Again, Dardanus is said to have built Troy about 34 years after the Exodus. They got fed up with Moses and left. Where's that written? It's in your ancient history. So here we're going to follow Dardanus a little bit more, because it wasn't a direct trip to the Dardanelles. His first stopover for Dardanus on his way to the Troad was Crete. Crete, okay, so now this version here takes before the Exodus. So I would suggest that there are groups, because this ancient history is a little bit convoluted. So parts left before, then others heard about it after, and they left and followed them. So before, they were settled on Crete. I'm going to really condense this, okay, so we can keep going. Because there's so much stuff here that I could just spend weeks here doing it. They came to Crete. They settled. One of the major disasters in Crete was the volcanic explosion, which they speculate was what caused the earth to go dark over Egypt for 3 days. Right? That was a major disaster to the people in Crete. And if you watch the history of that now, this is a beautiful place up here, either here or over there, I forget where it is. And then they left, thinking this was a bad sign. And they went north, they went to Athens. And then from Athens, they went up to the Dardanelles. So I might have my history a little bit mixed up, because I'm trying to speed things up a little bit. But that's this one group, and they settled and founded the city of Troy. So, okay, so now stop and think. We've got two different versions here. One says 34 years after. 34 years after this is when it was founded. But they started out beforehand down here. So that means they must have left before the Exodus. And that's my version, right? Because after the Exodus, when this gets blown up, they move up here. And then from there, they keep on going. I want you to just try and picture this whole thing. In all of this, Jehovah is the one who's guiding everything. And the comfort that you should take from all of this is know that it is Him who's guiding what's going on with us today. Even though they got the volcano blew up in their faces here, the volcano. So, it's so rich in history. Study Crete, study Greece, Athens, and Argos, and learn this stuff. But know the names. Okay? Let's see, there's another name, Mount Ida. No. This word, or anyway, some of the Mycenaeans come. I got to read this. I'm sorry. I can't read it. There's just so much. I got a big long thing here. There's just too much. There's so much history right in here. The Mycenaeans, and all these nations come out, and they're all Israelites as they leave Moses. Here's some of the symbols, right? What's a symbol of? This is a symbol from Troy. Troy. There's a symbol for Dan, the serpent's tail. So here's a whole bunch of different names from the Trojan royalty. Dardanus and Batia, that's his wife. His son was Erectonius, and his wife was Astyope. Tros and Calaroi, Elus, Laomedian, Priam, and the 50 sons of Hector and Paris. Of the 50 sons is Hector and Paris. And you've all heard of Hector and Paris. And you haven't heard of Hector and Paris. Okay.
Mythology.
You need to go and watch the movie
Yeah,
Troy.
Mythology.
It's not mythology.
I know, but
It's-
it's Paris.
It's Paris
Helen of Troy.
is true.
Yeah, is
It's
it?
not mythology.
Helen of Troy is true?
Yes,
You think it is?
I know it
The
is.
Trojan horse?
Yes,
Well, that's
Yeah,
true.
it is.
Yeah,
It
that's
is true.
historical.
Yeah.
it's all documented. So Paris gets killed in Troy,
Yeah.
but his descendants go on to found the city of Stockholm.
Stockholm. Oh,
No, Paris,
Paris.
Paris.
Paris. Nice.
right? That's who it is. But these 50 other sons, 48 other sons, Hector gets killed with Achilles. Achilles gets shot in the heel.
Yeah.
That sounds like a myth, but that's how he got killed, because he couldn't walk. But that's all part of it, and these stories start off as true stories and be turned into myth, and then they get exaggerated. But they're based on fact. These other 48 sons go and found other kingdoms, and we're going to follow some of them today.
I just want to say something, it just really burned
Yep.
inside me. I think it's really critical that we know chronological history. It's really critical just to go on your own. I have 4 volumes that are excellent. They were written by a homeschooler. Her name is Jessie Wise. Jessica Wise. My children, we took 2 years to do chronological history. It was phenomenal. And the Lord spoke to me. It was so incredibly important that the Lord said to me, you need to know this. So I think as believers, we need to just take it upon ourselves, start a regime where you're going to do like a whole year, and you really go out and you. I've been trying to tell people this actually for 2 years in our group, that chronological history is really, really important.
If you don't know your history, I think Winston Churchill said, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it.
Yeah.
Right? And
But it will help you understand
yeah,
what's going on here with this teaching.
see,
here.
when I see the news, I see Israelite against Israelite, or Babylonian against Israelite. That's how I see the nightly news. And my mom said to me, how do you know what's going on? I said, because it's been repeated so many times. The process of Abraham is just a repetition over and over and over again in the sabbatical cycles.
But you gotta
It's
know.
not that I'm super smart, it's just that I've seen a pattern and I can count to 7. Right? So we're going to now follow some of this stuff, and I'm going to read this part because it's not that big. The legends claim that the oldest town in the land of Troy was founded by Dusar, who was a son of Scamander, a stream of Crete, according to John Zetzi of the 12th century. So again, they're tying it back into Crete in the Dardanus, right? So this is from the 12th century. And the nymph idea. So we get some of the mythology coming out here. During the reign of Dusar, Dardanus, son of Zeus, so now we're getting into some of that mythology. Who's the son of Zeus? Dardanus. Who's Dardanus the son of? Dan, the son of? Dan, the son of?
Jacob.
Jacob. Who's Zeus? Jacob. Jacob is Zeus. But Zeus is also there, got sometimes pictured as a 2-headed god. That is, when that's talking about Noah, because Noah was before the flood and after the flood. So you got to understand the mythology and what the subject is, because sometimes they get the name mixed up because it's over thousands of years getting combined, right?
The Janus and James? Janus and
Janus?
James.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
Janus.
Maybe that's what I'm talking about. See, I'm even getting them mixed up here. But then, what I'm telling you is, I'm just giving you snippets of all this stuff. And the thing is to create a desire in you to go and search this out, like Melissa said, to go and search this stuff out and find this deeper meaning. If you're watching TV and you're watching Coronation Street, you are so screwed. Because you could be spending your time reading some great books that tell you this stuff. And that's how I learned it. And when I learned more, I went to the encyclopedia, and the encyclopedias have it all there, but you just got to sort it out because they don't know exactly what they're talking about sometimes. Okay. So he sired Dardanus sired Eructinus, who begot Tros by Astoki, daughter. So what am I reading this for? So this is according to Encyclopedia Britannica. And Elus went to Phrygia, where he received as a wrestling prize from the king of Phrygia. I'm talking about this history of Troy. That's what I'm talking about. And these kings came to settle Troy. And this is how it got there. This is the actual history. And this is in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay? Volume 22, page 503, 1943 edition. It's in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and it's talking about Dardanus, Dan. But now you know that Dardanus is Dan, you know who it's talking about. Now the 50 sons are royal line. Right? So there's Paris, there's Helen of Troy, the only woman in history to launch 1,000 ships. Okay? She must have been some good-looking woman to cause that much trouble. Paris became betrothed to Oenone and awarded the golden apple of strife to Aphrodite, who promised him the love of the fairest of women, who brought upon Troy the resentment of Hera and Athena. So this is the mythology part, talking about real events, but they glamour it up a little bit. It's like Bollywood or Hollywood doing it up. Following this, Paris visiting Sparta. Sparta was another Israelite colony. We haven't told you who the Spartans are yet. Found favor with Helen, heiress of Tyndareus, and the wife of Milenos, son of Atreus, and carried her to Troy. So he actually, committed adultery here with another man's wife. To recover Helen, the Achaeans, these are Israelites, under Agamemnon, I'm really messing these up, aren't I? Brother of Menelaus, besieged Troy for 10 years.
Yeah.
The couple that launched 1,000 ships, right here. So we're going to cover this a little bit because this is so neat. In the 10th year of the siege, Hector was killed by Achilles. And Achilles, was killed by Paris. And the war began in 1194 and 1184 BC. Remember, this is now 200 and some odd years after the Exodus. Okay? These are pictures from the movie, Troy. I love the movie. I thought it was very accurate. Hector was killed by Achilles and then dragged around in front of the Trojan walls. Why am I going into this? I don't know. I just love the story, so I'm going down this rabbit trail. But these are Israelites fighting against Israelites. Finally, a wooden horse was built, inside of which many Achaeans hid themselves. The Greek army and fleet, again, these are all Israelites we're talking about here so far, then withdrew to Tenedos, pretending to have ended the siege. The Trojans, seeing the Greek army was gone, opened the gates and conveyed the wooden horse into Troy. That night, the hidden Greeks stole out of the horse, opened the gates of the city, and returning Greeks and Troy was finally taken. Okay? Now you can read that in encyclopedia. What's so significant about this horse? First of all, who are we talking about? Who are the Trojans? Dardanus, descendants of Dan. What is the national symbol of Dan today? There's another one though. Well, that sort of got transferred over to Ephraim. The horse. The white horse. All across Ireland are white horses chalked into the mountains. They're everywhere and they're huge. They're like 4 football fields in size. They're big. Dan has this thing about a white horse. Why would the Greeks create a white horse, or a horse, for them. This one made of wood, but it was probably painted white. Why would they do that?
It was a gift.
They knew the Trojans had this affinity to white horses. It was part of their banner. Right? So this is such an amazing thing. They knew that. So if you know the background, all this stuff that's mythology makes sense. And it's not myth, it's actual stuff.
So it was like a peace offering, right?
It would be like a peace offering. They left us a white horse. That's our national symbol. It's like Canada and the United States being at war for 10 years, and the Canadians pull out, and we give the Americans one great big beautiful eagle. And inside it we stick 10 Canadians. And they speak out at night and defeat the Americans.
And the raven, 10 arrows.
Right? So, but that's the same type of thing. The eagle is the American national symbol. This will be the Dardanelles. Right? Great story. Again, much of the rest of the information I have comes out of the Encyclopedia Britannica, which you can all read. But it's there. And, do this, it's just such an amazing thing. So now we got, okay, now I'm going to go through the family tree a little bit. And this comes down to Priamus. That's a picture of them fleeing Troy after the destruction. Where am I going here now? I've got to remember my name. Priam's reign. Okay, we're talking about Priam. Okay, we're going to follow Priam, one of the sons. After the building of the city of Dardanus in the Troad, Darda established a royal line in the land. Aeneas, meaning to praise. Now there's another name, Aeneas. Isn't that another name for the Greeks? It's Aeneas. And I don't have it up there. But I always see that name and I say that's a Greek name. Anyway, was a Trojan hero, the son of the prince Anchises and the goddess Aphrodite. His father was the second cousin of King Priam of Troy, making Aeneas Priam's second cousin once removed. Blah, blah, blah. Priam's reign ended in 1184 BC, the year the Trojans were crushed in the first Trojan War by their brethren the Greeks. Aeneas and the royal line escaped the destruction of Troy and made his way to Italy. Okay? Listen, this is so neat. The story of his migration is found in the Aeneid, which is written by the Roman historian Virgil, Funken Wagnall's Encyclopedia Britannica, Funken New Encyclopedia. There it is. And Aeneid, this is what they say, an Aeneid is a mythical, according to the experts, work in 12 books describing the wanderings of the hero Aeneas and a small band of Trojans after the fall of Troy. Aeneas escaped from Troy with the images of his ancestral gods, so he's carrying a statue, carrying his aged father in his shoulders and leading his young son Ascanius by the hand, but the confusion of his hasty flight, he lost his wife Creusa. So that's what this picture is here. Okay? So that's Aeneas leaving Troy. He collected a fleet, so we're still talking about Aeneas. He collected a fleet of 20 vessels and sailed with the surveying Trojans to Thrace, where they began building a city. So, okay, now we're talking about the Thracians. Do you remember the Thracians in the book of Acts? Okay? The Thracians starting now 1100 BC. The Thracians are still there, but they now immigrate with other Israelites later on. Aeneas subsequently abandoned his plan of a settlement there and went to Crete, but was driven from the island by a pestilence. After visiting Epirus and Sicily, where his father died, Aeneas was shipwrecked on the coast of Africa and welcomed by Dido, queen of Carthage. Carthage is another prominent city. We're not going to even get into it today. It's another prominent city that becomes dominated by the Israelites. What was the national pastime of Carthage? Carthaginians. No. Well, yes, they were, but that's an Israelite trait. They developed the god Moloch. And they used to sacrifice to Moloch by the thousands. It was so revolting to the Romans that they came and destroyed Carthage, drove them out, slaughtered them all, except those that got away, and they salted the land there so they would never grow anything again. These were Israelites doing the same religion that they did in Moab. Okay? I'm just trying to connect all these different things as we're going here because there's just so much. Right now we're following the ancestry of Aeneas, and of course, and after visiting Sicily again, stopping at Cumae on the Bay of Naples, he landed at the mouth of the Tiber River, 7 years after the fall of Troy. So the fall of Troy, 7 years later, he lands on the Tiber River. Do you know where the Tiber River is? I don't even have it here. Okay, the Tiber River is where Rome is. Okay, so now some of these other places. Where's Thrace? So I have it up here. Because you got to see sort of where all these things are. Geography and history go hand in hand. If you don't do that, so Smyrna, Philadelphia, Thrace, right here, Thracia. Okay, so he goes from Troy to Thracia, and then he comes over here to Sicily, and then he lands up there in Rome. Right? All within 7 years. So now, here's the good part. Aeneas was welcomed, not Aeneas, Aeneas, okay, was welcomed by Latinus.
That's not wrong. That's
Three
Greece.
couples.
I'm sorry. Okay, yes, over here. I'm glad somebody's paying attention. That was a test.
For us or you?
Whoever, I flunked. Aeneas was welcomed by Latinus. Okay, so who's Latinus? The ancestor of the Latins, right? King of Latinium. Lavina, the daughter of Latinus, was destined to marry a stranger, but her mother Amata had promised to give her in marriage to Turnus, king of the Ruthulians. A war ensued, which terminated with the defeat and death of Turnus. Excuse me. Thus making possible the marriage of Aeneas and Lavina. Aeneas died 3 years later, and his son Ascanius founded Alba Longia, the mother city of Rome. Okay, so that's in volume 1 of the, I don't know what that's, MCML XXV, page 196, another encyclopedia. The Compendium of World History, that the refugees of the First Trojan War settled. So this is a refugee of the First Trojan War, has now married into the royal line of the Italians. And here's some names from that royal line. So here's Latinus, and his daughter married Aeneas, and then they had Ascanius. Now look who's up here. This is the Roman line, Jupiter. Who's Jupiter? Judah. Roma, Tamar. Romanicius, Picus I, Faunus, Aeneas, Vulcan, Martha, Mars, Saturn, Picus Latinus. This is the royal tree of Italy. Well, you know what? People in Hollywood are so stupid, they have to go back to all these ancient names to make up a name, to find a name.
Yeah.
Right?
Vulcan.
That's right. Star Trek and Star Wars use all these ancient names. That's right.
But is that stupid or is that Satan's way of confusing this?
You're probably more right than I am. I was trying to say that they don't have any creativity.
No,
in
they
them.
do. That's just it. They do. They're using all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that when we read it, we think of their stuff rather than
Yes.
this.
So right now, what you see is the Roman tree, isn't it? And it ties into Judah's royal line. Now, this map up here has some things on it that I wanted to mention. And do I mention in this one? Maybe I mention it later on. Okay, Latinus, king of Latium, was himself descended from Judah. The famous woman Electra, or Roma, was daughter of Atlas Kittim. Josephus reveals Atlas to have been Epher, Abram's grandson. His daughter, the concubine of Jupiter, or Judah, and we get this from Icelandic history, could be no other than the biblical Tamar. So you see how this is all coming together? That ancient Genesis is so, it ties in so many different places.
Maybe that's why Genesis is called the book of beginnings.
Everything you need to know is written in Genesis. The trouble is, you don't know what you're reading. But it's there. So Jupiter, so now we carry down the family tree, Latinus, Anisola, Brito, and it comes down to here. The annals of the Romans relate that after Arrhenius founded Alba, he married a woman who bore him a son named Silvius. Silvius in turn married, and when his new wife became pregnant, Arrhenius sent word to him that he was sending a wizard to examine the wife and try and determine whether the baby was male or female. After examining Silvius, this is kind of interesting. Examining Silvius' wife, the wizard returned to his home, but was killed by Ascanius because of his prophecy foretelling that the woman had a male in her womb who would be the child of death. Imagine being told your child is going to be the child of death, and then the father goes out and kills the guy who said it. For as the story goes, the male child would eventually kill his father and mother and be the scourge of all mankind. During the birth of the child, Silvius' wife died. That's how he killed his mother. And the boy was reared by the father and named Brutus. Many years later, fulfilling the wizard's prophecy, the young man Brito killed his father by an accident by practicing archery. So Brito, Brutus. Okay, where am I going? Where am I going? Brutus is the one we're now following. See this, it's such an amazing, you just get to one coin, you got, no, it's another coin, it's something else. So we're going on Brutus now. Brutus, so what year are we in? 7 years after the fall of Troy, 1194 BC, founding of Rome. So this is 3 generations later, right? So let's give it 100 years. So this is 1000 BC. 1000 BC, who's ruling Israel? King David. So I'm trying to give you a perspective of what we're talking about here. Okay? Now we're talking about Brutus. Geoffrey of Monmouth. Everyone heard of Geoffrey of Monmouth? Famous historian from England, from ancient England. Great, and he has scrolls that they still have today of his teachings. Geoffrey of Monmouth's account tells much of the same story, but in greater detail. In his version, Brutus is explicitly the grandson rather than son of Ascanius. His father was Ascanius' son Silvius. So the magician who predicts great things for the unborn Brutus also foretells he will kill both his parents. He does so. In the same manner describes the historian the same guy who described that thing about the magician, described in his manuscript the Historia Bretonum, okay, Historia Bretonum, history of Britain, and is banished. Traveling to Greece, so we're talking about Brutus again. Traveling to Greece, he discovers a group of Trojans enslaved there. So it's not that far after the fall of Troy. So I said 100 years. He becomes their leader, and after a series of battles, they defeat the Greek king Pandrasus by attacking his camp at night. After capturing the guards, he takes him hostage and forces him to let his people go. He is given Pandrasus' daughter Ignorg in marriage and ships and provision for the voyage, and he sets sail. So Brutus captures him, now he's setting sail. The Trojans land on a deserted island and discover an abandoned temple to Diana. After performing the appropriate ritual to Diana, Brutus falls asleep in front of the goddess' statue and is given a vision of the land where he is destined to settle. An island in the Western Ocean inhabited only by a few giants. After leaving the Aegean area, Brutus migrated to Malta. There was advised to reestablish his people in the Great White Island. What's that called? England. The White Cliffs of Dover. An early name for Britain. Due to this advice is recorded in the archaic Greek form of the Temple of Diana in Caer Troia, New Troy. See, like this stuff is out there. You just got to find it. Where Brutus and his people traveled to next is preserved by the British historian Nennius, who states that Aeneas arrived in Gaul, modern France, where he founded the city of Tours, which is called Turnus. Let's see where else. Tradition says that on the way to the White Island, Brutus came across 4 other Trojan colonies upon the coast of Spain and persuaded them to join him. Why would they join him? They're all the same people. These are all Israelites. Okay? After some adventures in North Africa, so he's at the south coast of Spain, North Africa's there, he's going out through the Pillars of Gibraltar, and in close encounter with the Syrians, Brutus discovers another group of exiled Trojans living on the shores of the Tyrrhenian, I can't say that word, Tirrhenin, Tyrian Sea, led by the prodigious warrior Quirinius. In Gaul, Quirinius provokes a war with Gauforius Pictus, the Picts, king of Aquitaine, after hunting the king's forest without permission. Brutus' nephew Turonius dies in the fighting, and the city of Tours is founded where he is buried. The Trojans win most of their battles, but are conscious that the Gauls have the advantage of number. So they go back to their ships and sail for Britain, then called Albion. And they meet the giant descendants of Albion and defeat them. So I have on here this river, and the river of Tours is somewhere in here. There it is, right there. So that's where all this stuff takes place. And are you still with me? Have I lost you yet? You're still with me? We got the Trojans, we got the Trojan descendants in Rome, then we got Brutus coming out of that and coming down, find more Trojans enslaved other places, and coming up to found Britain. So here's my ancestry here, Somerset, Devon, Dorset. This is all there. But Brutus lands on, he starts off down here, but he goes up and he lands over there in the river called the Thames. At Totnes on the River Dart, which is down here in England, 12 miles inland from Tor Bay, the oldest seaport in the South Devon, right? South Devon, is a historical stone that commemorates the coming of Brutus to Britain. So we have this stone in Britain right now that talks about Brutus coming. Why aren't we taught this in school? The stone is known as the Brutus stone. It's not the same stone we talked about earlier. That tradition being from the Trojan prince set foot upon it when he first landed. The Welsh records state that the 3 tribes of this countryman received Brutus and his company as brethren. The Welsh received Brutus and his tribe as brethren. The Welsh and the Brutus are... You see the connections? They're all Israelites. His three sons born after his arrival in Britain were named after the 3 tribes, Locrinus, Camber, and Alban. Brutus named heads the roll in the genealogies of the British king, preserved as faithfully as those of the kings of Israel and Judah. So Brutus kept a record of all this stuff, and it's chronologically there in England. And this is the place where Brutus is founded. The historian Britannium states that the island of Britain derives its name from Brutus, a Roman consul who conquered Spain. A more detailed story set before the foundation of Rome follows, in which Brutus is the grandson or great-grandson of Aeneas. So we have 2 stories here being told. One's discrediting the Israelites, and another one is telling the truth. This place is in England today. This is where Brutus founded the city of Troy, New Troy, which became then known as Londinium, which is now called London. That's why I asked you which one. All right?
Yeah.
And you're in the town that's named after that. You can go there. This is the original landing spot. There are different buildings around here that I was going to show you. This is a church that's built over top of it. This is the Brutus stone. Here's a picture of that church. And it's right here. This is the spot where Brutus first came. It's in London. There's so much history there. My aunt just got back from there. She has no idea what she's been doing. She's been there for 3 months, and I just want to kill her because she doesn't know what she was looking at. So, what happened there? Why have I got that moon so big? Gotta fix that one. So he calls it, founds a city on the river Thames and calls it Troia Nova, or New Troy, setting his palace where it is now Guild Hall, that's Guild Hall, and a temple to Diana, what is now St. Paul's. Get that? St. Paul's used to be the temple of Diana. And the London Stone, which is here. So anyway, all this stuff is there. Let's see where we can go now. So these are the old manuscripts in the city of London. All this stuff is there and is recorded in Windsor Castle. And also the history of the kings of England, which go back to Adam. This is just a sample. I have this chart on my wall. It takes up, well, about half this screen here. But there's Judah, and here's the king and Queen Elizabeth. And you can trace it back through all the various lines that come through Troy and through other lines. It goes all the way back. How you all doing?
Is this something that maybe, have you got that chart? Where'd you get the chart? Because that'd be interesting to,
Covenant Publishing House. How do I remember that?
it'd be nice to republish it. Or
Well, you
get
can
the
just buy it. There's all kinds, yeah,
You can buy it?
I got another one that takes up, if I could have brought it, it would have taken up half, this whole
It'd
sheet.
be really cool to display it in Honey and Locust. I'm really into this kind of stuff. Did you see my, my history?
No, not yet.
Chronological history?
When I walk in there, I'm watching out for that sheepdog that's. But,
Yeah.
so anyway, this is the stuff, and we're only halfway. So that's why I'm asking, you all okay? Okay, now keep going.
Can I have just a quick question?
Yep.
It's way off course, but the royal line, Princess Elizabeth, ended up with German ancestry somewhere,
Yeah,
right? Where does that come in here?
I think Victoria,
Victoria?
I think. But it's not on this chart.
Okay.
This is just a real small chart,
Yeah.
because the other ones are bigger, and when I put them on this, you know, as a
You can't read.
projector here, it doesn't, you don't see nothing.
Okay.
So I just kept it small. But the kings of Ireland go through here, the kings of Scotland go through here, the kings of England. And before there were the kings of Ireland, the kings of Brutus had already started. Again, what are we following? We're following the line of Zerah. Okay? Judah shall have the scepter shall not depart from Judah. Yet we read how Zedekiah was killed and all his sons were killed. So what happened? But we already see how Jehovah has already established the other line of Zerah here through Brutus, through the kings of Ireland. And through the kings of Ireland, he breeds the two together, King Zedekiah's daughter, right? And they end up coming down to here. It's such an amazing story. This is not British Israelism. It's not that four-letter word that you go, stop, I don't want to hear no more. This is actual history, and we've been reading from Encyclopedia Britannica and books like that.
So British Israelism is pretty on target then.
British Israelism has a lot of the truth. What British Israelism does is it says, I'm white, I'm Anglo-Saxon, I'm blonde, and I'm blue-eyed, and I'm a superior race.
Right.
This is the Germanic teaching. That's what's wrong with British Israelism. Okay? When you take the truth and just show the truth, and then understand that Israel had a job to do. Israel, the Commonwealth of Israel, the whole Israel, nations of Israel, the emperors of Israel, or not the emperors, the kings and queens of Israel, is to show the rest of the world Torah. They never did that. The only ones that keep Torah relatively close now is Judah. But the promises that were given to Abraham have been fulfilled. And you missed the part at the beginning that says that he stands up. That's the angel that guards Israel. Stands up, stops protecting us. Then we're going to be in trouble. Now the promise has been fulfilled, and we're still not keeping Torah. Now we're going to pay the price for the curses that were also promised to us if we did not obey. And the rest of the world suffers with us because they were supposed to have learned this from us. And that's what all of prophecy points to, this punishment if we don't obey, which is coming now.
And now you see, it's interesting how you see a split in Judah. Right from the get-go.
Right from the get-go.
You've got from a split. We didn't even know that there was a split there.
There's Tamar has twins.
Yeah, like
Perez and
I don't
Zerah.
think hardly anybody knows that Zerah and Perez, they split ways.
No.
And
But you see, at the Exodus, before and after Zerah's line left. Right?
Yeah.
They were the wisest people.
Yeah.
Solomon, they left. We're going to read some more about them. We're going to keep going back and forth as we follow these different lines out. But they all point to England, North America. They all end up there. So we just follow these rabbit trails to the end, and this is where we end up. So this is one rabbit trail we're on. What are we going to do now? King Edward. This is my ancestor. Not that he's a great ancestor to be claiming to, but he's one of mine. Castellanus was not the only king of Britain who knew of his Trojan bloodline. King Edward I, who removed the Stone of Destiny, which is the stone we talked about at the beginning, from Scone to Scotland, in Scotland to London, used to boast about his descendants from the Trojans. King Edward. Okay? This is 1300s AD, boasting about his ancestry of the Trojans. Why don't we hear about that today? Why is this not taught in public school and high school in history? Why do we have to learn about the War of 1812?
Because Satan doesn't want us to know the rabbit trail.
That's exactly
He
it.
wants to close that rabbit trail off. He does not want us, Satan does not want us to go back to Israel. He does not want us to be led back to the foundation.
To know where God's
He wants to
people-
cut that rabbit trail right down.
Yeah.
So here's the exact quote that King Edward used to say. The Irish and Scottish kings, Fergus and Edward himself, were all descendants of Judah. In fact, it is said that Edward used to boast of his descendants from the Trojans. So this is coincidence pointers of our heritage by Brigadier G. Wilson. And that's from the 1800s. No, I should go there. Why don't I go there now? Okay, I gotta go there later. It's in here, it's coming. There's more story about Edward. Okay? Now, the migration of the Illyrians. So we're now going back to the ancient history again. On the eastern shore of the Adriatic Sea, approximately halfway between the ruins of Acropolis in the Athens and those of Colosseum in Rome, lie the ruins of a string of colonies in the Hellenes, established on Elean soil, in what is now the county of Albany, a country of Albany. These Hellenes founded colonies not only on the Adriatic coast, but on the Black Sea, Sicily, North Africa, and other parts of the Mediterranean. Okay? So cut to the chase. These are all descendants, these are other descendants of those 50 sons of brothers of Hector and Paris. The 50 kings, 50 princes of Troy. And so this is the country. So there is Albania, where they settled, right? Then Macedonia and Montenegro is some of the other places they established. This is the kingdoms from Troy. And it's just so rich, this history, so unbelievable rich. Where are we going now?
Yeah, you
Okay.
Alexander there, his father was Philip of Macedonia.
Alexander.
Yeah, Alexander the Great.
I don't know if that's Alexander the Great there.
Okay, might not be.
So what I'm doing now is I'm following that family tree down to the kingly lines, and I'm coming down to the Spanish history. So we're now coming into Spain, and we're showing how the Spaniards are tied into this family line. And then along come the Sumerians. Okay, the Sumerians come in 483 BC, or around that time. Who are the Sumerians? This is. Remember this, because they're all tied in together here now. Because what we're doing, we're seeing the left hand here, and I'm talking about the right hand, but you don't even know who the right hand is yet. But the left hand is who we're following. This is the line of Zerah so far. So it's tied into Spain.
Is that Cadmus, the Sumerian?
What?
Is that Cadmus?
No, Cadmus has got other groups that we haven't even talked about yet. We're still talking about the Zerah line, or the Dardanus line. And, you know, so I'm trying to hurry up. The fall of Troy. Okay, so we're into so we end up with different countries here in, this is France, right? The fall of Troy so another fall of Troy. Members of the Trojan family and most of the population of the city fled to the northern shores of the Black Sea in Eastern Europe. And the next 234 years, this region of the Jewish Trojan house provided 11 rulers over the people who fled Troy. So we have other Trojan wars, other Trojan kings who are descendants from Zerah of Judah, and now they're settling in France. The Burgundians, the Aquitans, the Nestralia, the Austrians, Suaba. Okay, so those are some of the Germanic tribes up there. Saxony is not, Frisia is not, that's Israelite tribes. Lombard, Israelite tribe. So and I'm rushing here, okay? Because we're only halfway. So I'm telling you this stuff so you can go and look and think, wow.
Where did you get this Sephardic Jew? That's
From Spain.
Just Spain? Oh.
That comes from the 14th century AD when Judah was kicked out of Spain and all the Spanish Jews at that time were kicked out. That's where the Sephardics come from. So that's just Judah.
Rico Cortez says that's part of his lineage.
There's something very interesting about the dynasty. So we're talking about the French kings. The French kings were known to have long hair. Why? Why would they have long hair?
That's right.
This is the Moravian dynasty. Okay, you've read the book. There's something very interesting about this dynasty that bears explanation. Its kings all wore long hair. They kept the kingly office until the Pope suggested to the East Franks, the Germans, that they could gain power over the Moravians by cutting the king's hair. The last Moravian was accordingly tonsured. The government thereafter passed to Pippin, father of the German king Charlemagne, who restored the Roman Empire to the west in 800. This long-haired tradition comes from the Nazarite vow. A Jewish,
That was a guess.
a Jewish,
No, it
Teachers.
wasn't. You read the book.
right? And that's why we have these pictures like this. And because Jesus was a Nazarite, he had long hair. Not so.
That's why they make them look like that.
So that's the story of Troy and the Trojans and where they went. But we haven't even talked about the Spartans yet.
This is worse than playing chess.
But it's Jehovah.
I know.
He's moving all these pieces around, and the history is so awesome. The Lacedaemonians, those are also the Greeks, are the Spartan people. The tribal emblem of the Danites was a snake with a serpent in its claws. Josephus records a letter written by the Lacedaemonian Greeks to the Jews in which they expressed their kinship to the Jews. Their seal, that of the tribe of Dan, was affixed to the epistle, an eagle with a dragon serpent in its claws. The reply of the Jewish high priest to the letter from the southern Greeks, the Spartan Greeks, declared, Jonathan, who's Jonathan the high priest? The Maccabeans. Jonathan the Maccabean. Jonathan the high priest of the Jewish nation, to the Ephori, the Senate, and the people of the Lacedaemonians, send greeting. When in former times, so this is the second epistle. There's another one that went up before when Hillel, remember Hillel, the high priest? Hillel, the high priest, he's the one that lost the ark and his sons to the Philistines. Okay? So in former times, an epistle was brought to Onias, who was then our high priest, concerning the kindred that was between us and you, a copy of which is here subjoined. We both joyfully received the epistle, because we were well satisfied about it from the sacred writings, yet did not we think fit first to begin the claim of the relation to you, the glory which is now given us by you. It is long time since this relation of ours to you hath been renewed, and when we upon holy and festival days offer sacrifices to God, we pray to him for your preservation and victory. You will therefore do well yourselves to write to us and send us an account of what you stand in need of from us, since we are in all things disposed to act according to your desires. That's a letter from the high priest Jonathan the Maccabees to the Lacedaemonians, because they're kin. Right? When was John Maccabeus? 163 BC? They know where they are. They were never lost. Such an amazing thing. So, what other nation you got down here? Don't know. Can't help you there. Okay, so, but the names that you see here are tribal people. It's like the tribe of Job, the Josephites. And I get something named after me, right, by my kids. So there's Dan's symbol again. But, there's another but here. Okay?
There's a difference between the Athenians and the Spartans, right?
Between the
The
who?
Athenians and the Spartans. There's
The
Athenians,
Athenians?
yeah, and the Spartans. They're two diametric.
Yes. There are two different groups of people.
Yeah.
The Spartans settled in Argos, which is Dan. But we're now going to see more about the Spartans. Okay?
Yeah.
So the Spartans got a unique history to them. And it's what's not written in your Bible is so amazing. Here's what's written in your Bible. The tribe of Reuben, the Simeon, Gad, Judah, Issachar, all the different tribes. Who's the number one tribe that got the number one blessings? Double. No, Ephraim and Manasseh.
Oh, yeah, double fruit.
Little Joseph.
Okay? So now, here's the first census, right? Shortly after the Exodus, right? Numbers. Then there's something happens, right? And look, the numbers go down. Overall, where's the overall number? Overall, the numbers stay the same. But certain tribes increased and other tribes went down. You see that? That's why the book of Numbers is so amazing. If you stop and look, Judah went from 74 to 76,000. They went up about 2,000 people. Okay? Manasseh went up 20,000 people. That figures they got a double blessing, right? How come Judah didn't go up that much? Benjamin went up 10,000 people. Ephraim went down 8,000. Simeon went down 37,000 people. Where's God in this? Come on, you're supposed to be blessed. That don't look like a blessing. 37,000, that's like the town of Orangeville getting wiped out.
What
Right?
happened?
They left, they went to other places.
They spread out?
Now, hang on. You're going to find out. You're going to read this now, coming up in your numbers study. You're going to say, now I understand.
No.
Okay? Simeon and Reuben also. Ephraim and Naphtali went down. Between one census. Why did Jehovah tell Moses to take a second census so quick? It's because of this incident. These people up and left. The national totals indicate the number of Israelites enumerated under Moses had dropped very slightly. The totals, right? But the tribal totals reveal something very different had transpired. The most evident change is that over half the tribe of Simeon, with unexplained reasons, disappeared. Nothing's mentioned from the census totals. What happened? Simeon, the third largest tribe in Israel in the first census, had plummeted to the smallest tribe in the second census. So something should be leaping out at you here when you read that.
Can I just ask you when the first census and the second census was?
First census was right after the Exodus. Second census was shortly after this incident we're about to talk.
What? Say it again, please.
The first census was sometime after the, let's see, do I have it here?
Numbers 3.
Numbers 3. The second census is after the incident we're about to get into. And don't you blurt it out. Stop your...
I wouldn't even know.
The tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh share the birthright blessing of the Abrahamic covenant. which included being blessed with large population growth, Manasseh had indeed risen dramatically in population. So if they went up by 50,000 or 20,000, why didn't they go up by 18, 17, 15, 10,000? Right? Well, actually, Issachar went up by 10,000. Issachar is known as the wise people. They went up by 10,000. Benjamin went up by 10,000, so that's proportionally right. Dan didn't. Zebulun didn't, that's the Dutch. Judah didn't, right? Something's going on. The tribes even included the blessing and population growth. Manasseh had indeed risen dramatically with the population by growing from 32 to 57, a gain of 20,000 people, by far the largest increase of any tribe. However, his brother tribe, which shared his birth with agricultural, there's no sense in repeating it. So, Joe Dumond, opinion here, my opinion. I believe the key to what happened in Numbers 26 is found in the previous chapter, Numbers 25. In Numbers 25, we learn that Phinehas, a Levite, executed a prince of the chief house among the Simeonites. What was he doing? He was having sex with a Moabite woman. And he came in there and stood in front of him and looked at my Moabite woman. They went and jumped in bed with her. And then Phinehas raged and went and killed him.
Midianite woman.
Midianite? Okay. So that's verses 7 to 14. Phinehas leaped to execute the Simeonite prince from his audacity in rebelling against God by taking a Midianite woman into his tent at a time when God was punishing Israel for doing such things. Indeed, God sent a plague among the Israelites which killed 24,000 people. And that plague was stopped by the action of Phinehas. The Bible does not record which tribe suffered the most from the plague, even if one assumes that Simeonites bore the brunt of this plague. It does not begin to account for the drop in population of approximately 56,000 males of 20 years old and older. That's what the census is of. Males 20 years old and older. So 24,000 died in the plague, but 56,000 are missing. That 24,000 includes women and children. Okay? Also, Numbers 25:9 records that 24,000 people died in the plague. It does not state that all those, okay, I already said that. So, what happened to them? Where did the rest go? It is my belief that after the execution, so I'm stating this is my opinion, this is also the opinion of Stephen Collins, who wrote the 300 Spartans. This is my belief that after the execution of Simeon, prince of the by a Levitical priest, there was a great dissension in the camp of Israel. We know from all the accounts in the Torah of their wanderings in the wilderness that the Israelites were very prone to revolting against Moses over various provocations. We know from Genesis 34:25 that Simeon and Levi were the two most impulsive sons of Jacob. Okay? The two most impulsive. So Simeon, where's Levi?
Levi doesn't join the tribe.
Levi is in the
Levi's not in the numerology. That's right. That's the one I'm looking for. So he's not even in the numerology. Simeon and Levi were the two most impulsive sons of Jacob, the most likely to settle a matter by the sword. So now Phinehas has just killed this guy. He's not just any guy. He's a leader of Simeon. What are all the Simeonites going to do? Take out their sword. What are the Levites going to do? Take out their sword. The two most likely to fight. A civil war is about to brew. Right? Tension is tight. And people are picking sides who they're going to be on. Things are tense in the camp of Israel right now. And it doesn't say it. It doesn't say anything. Again, this is my opinion being put forward.